Janamejaya said, while those foremost of men, the sons of Pritha, were passing their days in the forest, exposed to the inclemencies of the winter, the summer, the wind, the sun, what did they do after they had reached the lake and woods, going by the name of Divaita? After the sons of Pandu had arrived at that lake, they chose a residence that was removed from the habitations of men, and they began to roam through delightful woods and ever-charming mountains and picturesque river valleys. And after they had taken up their residence there, many venerable ascetics endowed with Vedic lore often came to see them. And those foremost of men always received those Veda-knowing rishis with great respect. And one day there came unto the Kaurava prince a certain Brahmana, who was well known on earth for his powers of speech. And having conversed with the Pandavas for a while, he went away as pleased him to the court of the royal son of Vitraviriya, received with respect by that chief of the Kurus, the old king. The Brahmana took his seat, and asked by the monarch, he began to talk of the sons of the Dharma, Pavana, Indra, and of the twins, all of whom, having fallen into severe misery, had become emaciated and reduced owing to exposure to wind and sun. And that Brahmana talked of Krishna, who was overwhelmed with suffering, and who then had become perfectly helpless, although she had heroes for her lords. And hearing the words of that Brahmana, the royal son of Vitraviriya became afflicted with grief at the thought of those princes of royal lineage then swimming in a river of sorrow. He is in most so afflicted with sorrow and trembling all over with sighs. He quieted himself with a great effort, remembering that everything had arisen from his own fault. And the monarch said, Alas, how is it that Yudhishthira, who is the eldest of my sons, who is truthful and pious and virtuous in his behavior, who hath not a foe, who had formerly slept on beds made of soft hanku skins, sleepeth now on the bare ground? Alas, wakened formerly by suitors and Magadhas and other singers with his praises, melodiously recited every morning, that prince of the Kuru race, equal unto Indra himself, is now waked from the bare ground towards the small hours of the night by a multitude of birds. How doth Vrikodara, reduced by exposure to wind and sun, and filled with wrath, sleep in the presence of the prince of Panchala on the bare ground, unfit as he is to suffer such lot? Perhaps the intelligent Arjuna, who is incapable of bearing pain, and who, though obedient to the will of Yudhishthira, yet feeleth himself to be pierced over all by the remembrance of his wrongs, sleepeth not in the night. Beholding the twins and Krishna and Yudhishthira and Bhima plunged in misery, Arjuna without doubt seeketh like a serpent of fierce energy, and sleepeth not from wrath in the night. The twins, who are even like a couple of blessed celestials in heaven, sunk in woe, though deserving of bliss, without doubt pass their nights in restless wakefulness, restrained by virtue and truth. The mighty son of the wind god, who is equal to the wind god himself in strength, without doubt seeketh and restraineth his wrath, being tired through his elder brother in the bonds of truth. Superior greatly to our warriors, he now lieth quiet on the ground, restrained by virtue and truth, and burning to slay my children. He bideth his time. The cruel words that Dushasana spoke after Yudhishthira had been deceitful, defeated at dice, have sunk deep into Vrikodara's heart, and are consuming him like a burning bundle of straw, consuming a fagot of dry wood. The son of the Dharma never acteth sinful. The Dhananjaya always obeyeth him. Bhishma wrath, in consequence of a life of exile, is increasing like a conflagration assisted by the wind. That hero, burning with hate such as that, squeezeth his hands, and breatheth hot and fierce sighs, as if consuming therewith my sons and grandsons. The elder of the Gandiva and Vrikodara, when angry, are like Yama and Kala themselves, scattering their shafts, which are like unto thunderbolts. They exterminate in battle the ranks of the enemy. Alas, Duryodhana and Sakuni, and the Sutta son, and Dusasana of wicked soul, in robbing the Pandavas of their kingdom by means of dice, seem to behold the honey alone without marking the terrible ruin. A man, having acted rightly or wrongly, expecteth the fruit of those acts. The fruit, confounding him, paralyze him full. How can man have salvation? If the soil is properly tilled, and the seed sown therein, and if the God shoreth in season, still the crop may not grow. This is what we often hear. Indeed, how could this saying be true, unless, as I think it be, that everything here is dependent on destiny? The Gamla Sakuni have behaved deceitful towards the son of Pandu, who ever acteth honestly from affection for my wicked sons. I have acted similarly. It is owing to this that the hour of destruction hath come for the Kurus. Perhaps what is inevitably must happen. The wind, impelled or not, will move. The woman that conceives will bring forth. Darkness will be dispelled at dawn, and they disappear at evening. Whatever may be earned by us or others, whether people spend it or not, when the time cometh, those possessions of ours do bring on misery. Why then do people become anxious about earning wealth, if indeed what is occurred is the result of fate? Then should it be protected so that it may not be divided, nor lost little by little, nor permitted to flow out at once, for if unprotected it may break into 100 fragments. Whatever the character of our possessions or acts in the world are never lost. Behold what the energy of Arjuna is, who went into the abode of Indra from the woods, having mastered the 4 kinds of celestial weapons. He hath come back into this world. What man is there who, having gone to heaven in his human form, wisheth to come back? This wound never hath been, because he seeth innumerable Kurus to be at the point of death, afflicted by time. The bowman is Arjuna, capable of yielding the bow with his left hand as well. The bow he yieldeth is the Gandiva, of fierce impetus. He hath besides those celestial weapons of his. Who is there that won't bear the energy of these 3? Hearing these words of the monarch, the son of Suvala, going unto Duryodhana, who was then sitting with Karna, told them everything in privity, and Duryodhana tongue, possessed of little sense, was filled with grief at what he heard. Hearing those words of Dhritarashtra, Sakuni, when the opportunity presented itself, aided by Karna, he spoke unto Duryodhana these words, having exiled the heroic Pandavas by thy own prowess. Rule thou this earth without a rival, like the slayer of Samvara, ruling the heaven. The kings of the east, the south, the west, and the north have all been made tributary to thee. That blazing prosperity which had before paid her court to the sons of Pandu hath now been acquired by thee along with thy brothers. That blazing prosperity which we not many days ago saw with happy hearts in Yudhishthira at Indraprastha is today seen by us to be honored by thee. She, having been snatched by thee from the royal Yudhishthira by force of intellect alone, are the kings of the earth now living in subjection to thee, await thy commands, as they did before under Yudhishthira, awaiting his. The God's earth, with her boundless extent, with girt of seas, with her mountains and forests, and towns and cities, and means, and decked with woodlands and hills, is now thine. Adored by the Brahmanas and worshipped by the kings, thou blazest forth in consequence of thy prowess, like the sun among the gods in heaven, surrounded by the Kurus, like Yama by Hudra, or Vasava by the Maruts. Thou shinest like the moon among the stars. Let us go and look at the sons of Pandu, them who are now divested of prosperity, them who never obeyed commands, them who never owed subjection. It hath been heard by us that the Pandavas are now living on the banks of the lake called Dvayatavana, with a multitude of Brahmanas, having the wilderness for their home. Go thither in all thy prosperity, scorching the son of Pandu with a sight of thy glory, like the sun scorching everything with his hot rays. Thyself a sovereignty, and they divested of sovereignty. Thyself in prosperity, and they divested of it, thyself possessing affluence, and they in poverty. Behold now the sons of Pandu, let the sons of Pandu behold thee like Yayati, the son of Nahusha, accompanied by a large train of followers, and enjoying bliss that is great. That blazing prosperity, which is seen by both own friends and foes, is regarded as well bestowed. What happiness can be more complete than that which he enjoyeth, who while himself in prosperity looketh upon his foes in adversity, like a person on the hill top looking down upon another crawling on the earth? The happiness that one derives from beholding his foes in grief is greater than what one may derive from the acquisition of offering or wealth or kingdom. What happiness will not be his who, himself in affluence, will cast his eyes on the Dhananjaya attired in barks and deer skins? Let thy wife dressed in costly robes look at the woeful Krishna, clad in barks and deer skins, and enhance the little grief. Let the daughter of Drupada reproach herself and her life, divested as she is of wealth, for the sorrow that she will feel upon beholding thy wife decked in ornaments will be far greater than what she had felt in the midst of the assembly. Having thus spoken unto the king, Karna and Sakuni both remained silent after their discourse was over. Having heard these words of Karna, King Duryodhana became highly pleased. Soon after, the prince became melancholy, and addressing the speaker said, What thou tellest me is always before my mind. I shall not obtain permission to repair to the place where the Pandavas are residing. King Dhritarashtra is always grieving for those heroes. Indeed, the king regarded the sons of Pandu to have become more powerful than before in consequence of their ascetic austerities. Or, if the king understands our motives, he will never, having regard to the future, grant us permission for. We can have no other business in the woods of Vana Parva than the destruction of the Pandavas in the exile. Thou knowest the words that Kishatri spoke to me, to thyself, and to the son of Suvala, at the time of the match at dice, reflecting upon all those words, upon all those lamentations. I cannot make up my mind as to whether I should or should not go. I shall certainly be highly pleased if I cast my eyes on Bhima and Pihalguna, passing their days in pain with Krishna in the woods. The joy that I may feel in obtaining the sovereignty of the entire earth is nothing to that which will be mine upon beholding the sons of Pandu attired in barks of trees and deer skins. What joy can be greater? That will be mine upon beholding the doctor of Drupada dressed in head hags in the woods. If King Yudhishthira and Bhima, the sons of Pandu, behold me graced with great affluence, then on shall I have attained the great end of my life. I do not, however, see the means by which I may repair to those woods, by which, in fact, I may obtain the king permission to go thither. Contrive thou, therefore, some skilful plan with Suvala's son and Dusasana, by which we may go to those woods. I also making up my mind today as to whether I should go or not, approach the presence of the king tomorrow, and when I shall be sitting with Bhisma, that best of the Kurus, thou wilt, with Sakuni, propose the pretext which thou mayest have contrived. Hearing then the words of Bhisma and of the king on the subject of our journey, I will settle everything beseeching our grandfather, saying, so be it. They then all went away to their respective quarters, and as soon as the night had passed away, Karna came to the king, and coming to him, Karna, smiling, spoke unto Duryodhana, saying, a plan hath been contrived by me, listen to it. Our heads are now waiting in the woods of the Vaya Tavana, in expectation of thee. Without doubt, we may all go there under the pretext of supervising our cattle station, for it is proper that kings should frequently repair to their cattle stations. If this be the motive put forth thy father, will certainly grant thee permission. And while Duryodhana and Karna were thus conversing logling, Sakuni addressed them and said, this plan, free from difficulties, was what I saw for going thither. The king will certainly grant us permission, or even send us thither of his own accord. Our heads are now awaiting in the woods of Divaya Tavana, expecting thee. Without doubt, we may all go there under the pretext of supervising our cattle stations. They then all three loghead together, and gave their hands unto one another, and having arrived at that conclusion, they went to see the chief of Kurus. They then all saw King Dhritarashtra, and having seen him, inquired after his welfare, and were in return asked about their welfare. Then a co-head named Samanga, who had been instructed beforehand by them, approaching the king, he spoke unto him of the cattle. Then the son of Hadha and Sakuni, addressing Dhritarashtra, that foremost of monarchs, said, our cattle stations are now in a delightful place. The time for their tale, as also for making the cows, have come, and this also is an excellent season for thy son to go a-hunting. It behoveth thee to grant permiso to Duryodhana to go thither. Dhritarashtra replied, the chase of the deer, as also the examination of cattle, is very proper. I think that the headsmen are not to be trusted. We have heard that those tigers among men, the Pandavas, are now staying in the vicinity of those cattle stations. I think, therefore, ye should not go thither yourselves. Defeated by the deceitful means, they are now living in the deep forest in great suffering. They are mighty warriors and natural able. They are now devoted to ascetic austerities. King Yudhishthira will not suffer his wrath to be awakened. Bhimasena is natural passionate. The doctor of Yajnasena is energy self, full of pride and folly. Ye are certain to give offense, and that with ascetic merit she will certainly consume you. Or perhaps those heroes armed with swords and weapons, nor if from force of numbers ye seek to injure them in any respect, that will be a highly improper act. I'll talk, as I think, ye will never be able to succeed. The might armed Dhananjaya have returned thence to the forest, while unaccomplished in arms, Vivatsu had subjugated the whole earth before. A mighty warrior as he is, and accomplished in arms, now will he not be able to slay you all? Or if in obedience to my orders ye behave carefully, having repaired thither, ye will not be able to live happily there in consequence of the anxiety. Ye will feel owing to a state of continued trustlessness, or some soldier of yours may do some injury to Yudhishthira, and that unpremeditated act will be ascribed to your fault. Therefore, let some faithful men proceed there for the work of tale. I do not think it is proper for thee, Bharata, to go thither thyself. Sakuni said, the eldest of the sons of Pandu is cognizant of morality. He pledged in the midst of the assembly that he would live for 12 years in the forest. The other sons of Pandu are all virtuous and obedient to Yudhishthira. And Yudhishthira himself, the son of Kunti, will never be angry with us. Indeed, we desire very much to go on a hunting expedition, and will avail of that opportunity for supervising the tale of our cattle. We have no mind to see the sons of Pandu. We will not go to that spot where the Pandavas have taken up their residence, and consequently no exhibition of misconduct can possibly arise on our part. Thus addressed by Sakuni, that lord of men Dhritarashtra granted permission, but not very willingly, to Duryodhana and his counselors to go to the place, and permitted by the monarch the Bharata prince, born of Gandhari, started, accompanied by Karna and surrounded by large host. And he was accompanied by Dusasana and Suvala son of great intelligence, and by many other brothers of his, and by ladies in thousands. And as the might-armed prince started for beholding the lake that was known by the name of the Vana Parva, the citizens, accompanied by their wives, began to follow him to that forest. 8,000 cars, 30,000 elephants, 9,000 horses, and many thousands of foot soldiers, and shops, and pavilions, and traders, bards, and men trained in the chase by hundreds and thousands, followed the prince. And as the king started, followed by this large concourse of people, the uproar that was caused there resembled the deep tumult of the hanging winds in the rainy season, and reaching the lake Vana with all his followers and vehicles. King Duryodhana took up his quarters at the distance of 4 miles from it. King Duryodhana, then moving from forest to forest, at last approached the cattle stations and encamped his troops and his attendants, selecting a well-known and delightful spot that abounded in waters and trees, and possessed every convenience constructed on aboard for him, and near enough to the royal residence they erected separate abodes for Karna and Sakuni and the brothers of the king, and the king beheld his cattle by hundreds and thousands, and examining their limbs and marks, supervised their tail, and he caused the calves to be marked, and took note of those that he cared to be tamed, and he counted those kine whose calves had not yet been weaned, and completing the task of tail by marking and counting every calf that was 3 years old, the Kuru prince, surrounded by the co-heads, began to sport and wonder cheerfully. And the citizens and the soldiers by thousands began to sport as best pleased them in those woods, like the celestials, and the herdsmen were skilled in singing and dancing and instrumental music, and virgins decked in ornaments began to minister to the pleasures of Dhritarashtra's son, and the king, surrounded by the ladies of the royal household, began cheerful to distribute wealth and food and drinks of various kinds amongst those that sought to please him according to their desires. And the king, attended by all his followers, began to slay hyenas and buffaloes and deer and gay owls and bears and boars all around. And the king, fixing by his shafts those animals by thousands in deep forest, caused the deer to be caught in the more delightful parts of the woods, drinking milk and enjoying various other delicious articles, and beholding as he proceeded many delightful forests and woods swarming with bees, inebriant with floral honey, and resounding with the notes of the peacock, the king at last reached the sacred lake of the Vana, and the spot which the king reached swarmed with bees, inebriant with floral honey, and echoed with the mellifluous notes of the blue-throated jay, and was shaded by sapitahadas and punagas and vaculas, and the king graced with high prosperity proceeded thither like the thunder-yielding chief of the celestials himself. And King Yudhishthira, the just, endowed with high intelligence, was then residing in the vicinity of that lake at will, and celebrating with his wedded wife, the daughter of Drupada, the diurnal sacrifice called Hajar's He, according to the ordinance sanctioned for the celestials and persons living in the wilderness. And having reached that spot, Duryodhana commanded his men by thousands, saying, "Let pleasure houses be constructed soon." Thus commanded, those doers of the king's behests, replying to the Kuru chief with the words, "So be it," went towards the banks of the lake for constructing pleasure houses. And as the picked soldiers of Dhritarashtra's son, having reached the region of the lake, were about to enter the gates of the wood, a number of Gandhirvas appeared and forbade them to enter. For the king of the Gandhirvas, accompanied by his followers, had come thither beforehand from the abode of Kuvera, and the king of the Gandharvas had also been accompanied by the several tribes of Apsaras, as also by the sons of the Celestials, and intent upon sport he had come to that place for merriment, and occupying it had closed it against our commerce, and the attendants of the king, finding the lake closed by the king of the Gandharvas, went back to where the royal Duryodhana was, and Duryodhana, having heard these words, dispatched a number of his warriors difficult of being subjugated in battle, commanding them to drive away the Gandharvas. And those warriors who formed the vanguard of the Kuru army, hearing these words of the king, went back to the lake of the Vaitavana, and addressing the Gandharvas, said, "The mighty king Duryodhana, the son of Dhritarashtra, is coming hither for sport. Stand ye aside." Therefore, thus addressed by them, the Gandharvas looked and replied unto those men in these harsh words, "Your wicked king Duryodhana must be destitute of sense. How else could he have thus commanded us that are dwellers of heaven, as if indeed we were his servants? Without forethought, ye are doubtless on the point of death, for senseless idiots as ye are, ye have dared to bring us his message. Return ye soon to where that king of the Kurus is, or else go this very day to the abode of Yama." Thus addressed by the Gandharvas, the advanced guard of the king, armed, ran back to the place where the royal son of Dhritarashtra was. Those soldiers then all went back to Duryodhana, and repeated to him every word that the Gandharvas had said, and finding that his soldiers had been opposed by the Gandharvas, Dhritarashtra's son, and with energy, was filled with rage, and the king addressed his soldiers, saying, "Punish these wretches who desire to oppose my will, even if they have come hither to sport, accompanied by all the Celestials with him of 100 sacrifices." And hearing these words of Duryodhana, the sons and officers of Dhritarashtra are endowed with great strength, as also warriors by thousands began to arm themselves for battle, and filling the ten sides with loud learning horns, and rushing at those Gandharvas that had been guarding the gates, they entered the forest. And as the Kuru soldiers entered the forest, other Gandharvas came up and forbade them to advance. And though gently forbidden by the Gandharvas to advance, the Kuru soldiers, without regarding them in the least, began to enter that mighty forest. And when those angels of the sky found that the warriors of Dhritarashtra, along with their king, could not be stopped by words, they all went to their king Hitrasena, and represented everything unto him. And when Hitrasena, the king of the Gandharvas, came to know all this, he became filled with rage, alluding to the Kuru, and commanded his followers, saying, "Punish this wretch of wicked behavior." And when the Gandharvas were commanded by Hitrasena, they rushed weapons in hand towards the Dhritarashtra ranks, and beholding the Gandharvas impetuously rushing towards them with upraised weapons, the Kuru warriors precipitously fled in all directions at the very sight of Duryodhana. And beholding the Kuru soldiers all flying from the field with their backs to the foe, the heroic Hadiheya alone fled not, and seeing the mighty host of the Gandharvas rushing towards him, Hadiheya checked them by perfect shower of arrows. And the Sultan, owing to his extreme lightness of hand, struck hundreds of Gandhiharvas with kishupras and arrows and bihalas and various weapons made of bones and steel, and that might warrior, causing the hands of numerous Gandhiharvas to roll down within a short time, made the hands of Hitrasena to yell in anguish, and although they were slaughtered in great numbers by Karna and with great intelligence, yet the Gandhiharvas returned to the charge by hundreds and thousands. And in consequence of the swarms of Hitrasena warriors rushing impetuously to the field, the earth itself became soon covered by the Gandhiharva host. Then King Duryodhana and Sakuni, the son of Suvala, and Dusasana, and Vikarna, and other sons of Dhritarashtra, seated on cars, the clatter of whose wheels resembled the horse of Garuda, returned to the charge, following the lead of Karna, and began to slaughter that host, and desirous of supporting Karna, these princes invested the Gandhiharva arm with a large number of cars and a strong body of horses. Then the whole of the Gandhiharva host began to fight with the Kauravas. And the encounter that took place between the contending hosts was fierce in the extreme, and might make on her stand on end. The Gandhiharvas, at last, afflicted with the shafts of the Kuru arm, seemed to be exhausted, and the Kauravas, beholding the Gandhiharvas afflicted, sent up a loud sound, and seeing the Gandhiharva host yielding to fear, the angry Hitrasena sprang from his seat, resolved to exterminate the Kuru arm, and conversant with various modes of warfare, he waged on the fight, aided by his weapons of illusion, and the Kaurava warriors were then all deprived of their senses by the illusion of Hitrasena. And then it seemed that every warrior of the Kuru arm was fallen upon and surrounded by 10 Gandhiharvas, and attacked with great vigor. The Kuru host was greatly afflicted and struck with panic. All of them that liked to live fled from the field, while the entire Dhritarashtra host broke and fled. Karna, that offspring of the sun, stood there, immovably as a hill. Indeed, Duryodhana and Karna and Sakuni, the son of Suvala, all fought with the Gandhiharvas. Although every one of them was much wounded and mangled in the encounter. All the Gandhiharvas then, desirous of slaying Karna, rushed together by hundreds and thousands towards Karna, and those mighty warriors, desirous of slaying the Sultan, surrounded him on all sides with swords and battle axes and spears, and some cut down the yoke of his car, and some his flagstaff, and some the shaft of his car, and some his horses, and some his chariot, and some cut down his umbrella, and some the wooden fender round his car, and some the joints of his car. It was thus that many thousands of Gandhiharvas, together attacking his car, broke it into minute fragments, and while his car was thus attacked, Karna leaped therefrom with sword and shield in hand, and mounting on the Karna car, urged the steeds for saving himself. After that great warrior Karna had been routed by the Gandhiharvas, the whole of the Kuru arm fled from the field in the very sight of Dhritarashtra's son, and beholding all his troops flying from the field of battle with their back to the foe, King Duryodhana refused to fly, seeing the mighty host of the Gandhiharvas rushing towards him. That repressor of foes poured down upon them a thick shower of arrows. The Gandhiharvas, without regarding that arrowy shower, and desirous of slaying him, surrounded that car of his, and by means of their arrows they cut off into fragments the yoke, the shaft, the fenders, the flagstaff, the threefold bamboo poles, and the principal turret of his car, and they slew his chariot and horses, hacking them to pieces. And when Duryodhana, deprived of his car, fell on the ground, the strong-armed Hitarasena, who shot towards him and seized him in such a way that it seemed his life itself was taken. And after the Kuru king had been seized, the Gandhiharvas, surrounding Dusasana, who was seated on his car, took him prisoner. And some Gandhiharvas seized Vivingsati and Hitarasena, and some Vinda and Anovinda, while others seized all the ladies of royal household, and the warriors of Duryodhana, who were halted by the Gandhiharvas, joining those who had fled first, approached the Pandavas. And after Duryodhana had been made captive, the vehicles, the shops, the pavilions, the carriages, and the dogged animals all were made over to the Pandavas for protection. And those soldiers said, "The might-armed son of Dhritarashtra, possessed of great strength and handsome mien, is being taken away captive by the Gandhiharvas. Ye sons of Pritha, follow them. Dusasana, Durvishasa, Durmukha, Durjaya are all being led away as captives in chains by the Gandhiharvas, as also all the ladies of the royal household." Crying thus, the followers of Duryodhana, afflicted with grief and melancholy, approached Yudhishthira, desirous of effecting the release of the king. Bhishma then answered those old attendants of Duryodhana, who, afflicted with grief and melancholy, were thus soliciting, saying, "What we should have done with great effort, arraying ourselves in line of battle, supported by horses and elephants, have indeed been done by the Gandhiharvas. They that come hither for other purposes have been overtaken by a consequence they had not foreseen. Indeed, this is the result of the evil counsels of a king who is fond of deceitful play. It hath been heard by us that the fall of a person who is powerless is overthrown by others. The Gandhiharvas have in an extraordinary way illustrated before our eyes the truth of this saying. It seems that there is still fortunately some person in the world who is desirous of doing us good, who hath indeed taken upon his own shoulders our pleasant load, although we are sitting idly. The wretch had come hither to cast his eyes on us, himself in prosperity, while ourselves are sunk in adversity and emaciated by ascetic austerities, and are exposed to wind, cold, and heat. They that imitate the behavior of that sinful and wretched Kaurava are now beholding his disgrace. He that had instructed Duryodhana to do this had certainly acted sinful. That the sons of Kunti are not wicked and sinful, I tell it before you all. And while Bhishma, the son of Kunti, was speaking thus in a voice of sarcasm, King Yudhishthira told him, "This is not time for cruel words." Yudhishthira said, "Why dost thou use language such as this towards the frightened Kurus? who are now in adversity and who have come to us, solicitors of protection. Disunions and disputes do take place amongst those that are connected in blood. Hostilities such as these do go on. The honor of the family is never suffered to be interfered with. If any stranger seeketh to insult the honor of a family, they that are good never tolerate such insult coming from the stranger. The wicked-souled king of the Gandharvas knoweth that we are living here from some time, yet disregarding us, he hath done this deed which is disagreeably to us. From this forcible surgery of Duryodhana, and from this insult to the ladies of our house by stranger, our family honor is being destroyed. Therefore, ye tigers among men, arise and arm yourselves without delay for rescuing those that have sought our protection, and for guarding the honor of our family. Ye tigers among men, let Arjuna and the twins, and thyself, that art brave and unvanquished, liberate Duryodhana, who is even now being taken away a captive. Ye foremost of warriors, these blazing cars, furnished with golden flagstaffs and every kind of weapons belonging to Dhritarashtra's sons, are ready here. With Indrasena and other charioteers skilled in arms, who guiding them, ride ye on these ever-furnished cars of deep raro, and hiding on these, exert ye with activity, for fighting with the Gandharvas to liberate Duryodhana, even an ordinary Kshatriya, won to the height of his power, protect on that have come hither for refuge. What then shall I say of thee, entreated for assistance in such words as, hasten to my aid? Who is there that is high-souled enough to assist even his foe, beholding him seeking shelter with joined hands? The bestowal of a boon, sovereignty, and the birth of a son are sources of great joy. Ye sons of Pandu, the liberation of a foe from distress is equal to all the three put together. What can be a source of greater joy to you than that Duryodhana, sunk in distress, seeketh his very life as depending on the might of your arms? If the vow in which I am engaged had been over, there is little doubt that I would myself have run to his aid. Strive thou by all means to liberate Duryodhana by the arts of conciliation. If, however, the king of the Gandharvas cannot be managed by the arts of conciliation, then must thou try to rescue Suryodhana by lightly skirmishing with the foe. If the chief of the Gandharvas do not let the Kurus off, even then they must be rescued by crushing the foe by all means. This is all I can tell thee now, for my vow hath been begun, and is not ended yet. Hearing these words of Ajatasattu, the Dhananjaya pledged himself from respect for these commands of his superior to liberate the Kauravas, and Arjuna said, if the Gandharvas do not set the Dhritarashtras free peaceful, the earth shall this day drink the blood of the king of the Gandharvas. And hearing that pledge of the truth speaking Arjuna, the Kauravas then regained tenor of their minds. Hearing the words of Yudhishthira, those bulls among men, headed by Bhishmasena, rose up with faces beaming in joy, and those mighty warriors then began to case themselves in impenetrable mail, that were besides variegated with pure gold, and armed themselves with celestial weapons of various kinds, and the Pandavas, thus cased in mail, and mounted on those chariots furnished with flagstaffs and armed with bows and arrows, looked like blazing fires, and those tigers among warriors, riding upon those well-furnished cars, drawn by fleet horses, proceeded to that spot without losing a moment. And beholding those mighty warriors, the sons of Pandu, thus proceeding together, the Kuru arm sent forth a loud shout, and soon did those angels of the sky fluctuate with victory, and those impetuous warriors, the sons of Pandu, fearlessly encounter each other in that forest. The Gandharbas were fluctuated with success, and beholding the four brave sons of Pandu coming to battle, seated on their cars, they all turned back towards the advancing combatants. And the dwellers of the Gandhara, beholding the Pandavas, looking like blazing guardians of the world, provoked to ire, stood arrayed in order of battle, and in accordance with words of King Yudhishthira of great wisdom, the encounter that took place was a skirmish. When Arjuna, that persecutor of foes, saw that the foolish soldier of the king of Gandharvas could not be made to understand what was good for them by means of a light skirmish, he addressed those invincible angels of the skies in a conciliatory tone and said, "Leave ye my brother King Suryodhana." Thus addressed by the illustrious son of Pandu, the Gandharvas, laughing aloud, replied unto him, saying, "There is one in the world whose behest we obey, and living under whose rule we pass our days in happiness. We always act as that one person commandeth us. Besides that celestial chief, there is none that can command us." Thus addressed by the Gandharvas, the Dhananjaya, the son of Kunti, replied unto them, saying, "This contact with other people's wives and this hostile encounter with human beings are acts that are both censurable in the king of the Gandharvas and not proper for him. Therefore, leave ye the sons of Dhritarashtra are endowed with might energy, and liberate ye these ladies at the command of King Yudhishthira the just. If ye Gandharvas, ye do not set the sons of Dhritarashtra free peacefully, I shall certainly rescue Suryodhana by exerting my prowess." And speaking unto them thus, Prithiha son, the Dhananjaya, capable of wielding the bow with his left hand, then rained a shower of sharp-pointed sky-hanging shafts upon those angels of the firmament. Thus attacked the mighty Gandharvas, then encountered the sons of Pandu with a shower of arrows equally thick, and the Pandavas replied by attacking those dwellers of heaven, and the battle then that hanged between the active and agile Gandharvas and the impetuous son of Pandu was fierce in the extreme. Then those Gandharvas, decked in golden garlands and accomplished in celestial weapons, showing their blazing shafts, encountered the Pandavas from every side, and as the sons of Pandu were on four in number, and the Gandharvas counted by thousands, the battle that ensued appeared to be extraordinary, and as the cars of Karna and Duryodhana had formerly been broken into 100 fragments by the Gandharvas, where the cars of the four heroes attempted to be broken, those tigers among men began to encounter with their showers of arrows thousands upon thousands of Gandharvas rushing towards them. Those angels of the skies, endowed with great energy, thus checked on all sides but that arrowy downpour, succeeded not in even coming near to the sons of Pandu. Then Arjuna, whose ire had been provoked, aiming at the angry Gandharvas, prepared to hurl against them his celestial weapons. And in that encounter, the mighty Arjuna, by means of his Agneya weapon, sent 10 of thousands of Gandharvas to the abode of Yama, and that mighty bowman, Bhishma, that foremost of all warriors in battle, slew by means of his sharp arrows Gandharvas by hundreds, and the mighty sons of Madri, battling with vigor, encountered hundreds of Gandharvas, and slaughtered them all. And as Gandharvas were being thus slaughtered by the mighty warriors with their celestial weapons, they rose up to the skies, taking with them the sons of Dhritarashtra, the Dhananjaya, the son of Kunti, beholding them rise up to the skies, surrounded them on every side by a wide net of arrows, and confined within that arrowy net like birds within a cage. They showered in wrath upon Arjuna maces and darts and broadswords. Arjuna, who was conversant with the most efficacious weapons, soon shocked that shower of masses and darts and broadswords, and in return began to mangle the limbs of the Gandharvas with his crescent-shaped arrows. And heads and legs and arms began to drop down from above, resembling a shower of stones, and at that sight the foe was struck with panic. And as the Gandharvas were being slaughtered by the illustrious son of Pandu, they began to shower from the skies a heavy downpour of shafts upon Arjuna, who was on the surface of the earth. That chastiser of foes, Arjuna, endowed with might energy, shocked that shower of arrows by means of his own weapons, and began in return to wound them. Then Arjuna of the Kuru race shot his well-known weapons called Sitihuna Karna, Indrajala, Saura, Agneya, and Saumiya. And the Gandharvas, consumed by the fiery weapons of Kunti's son, began to suffer heavily, like the sons of Diti, while being scorched by sacred thunderbolt. And when they attacked Arjuna from above, they were shocked by his net of arrows, and while they attacked him from all sides on the surface of the earth, they were shocked by his crescent-shaped arrows. And beholding the Gandharvas put in fear by Kunti's son, Hitrasena rushed at the Dhananjaya armed with a mace. And as the king of the Gandharvas was rushing at Arjuna from above with that mace in hand, the latter cut with his arrows that mace wholly made of iron into 7 pieces, and beholding that mace of his cut into many pieces by Arjuna of great activity with his arrows, Hitrasena, by means of his science, concealed himself from the view of the Pandava, and began to fight with him. The heroic Arjuna, by means of his own celestial weapons, shocked out the celestial weapons that were aimed at him by the Gandharvas. And when the chief of the Gandharvas saw that he was shocked by the illustrious Arjuna with those weapons of his, he entirely disappeared from sight by help of his powers of illusion. And Arjuna, observing that the chief of the Gandharvas was striking at him, concealed from sight, attacked his assailant with celestial weapon, inspired with proper mantras, and the multiform Dhananjaya, filled with wrath, prevented the disappearance of his foe by means of his weapon known by the name of Sabida Veda, and assailed with those weapons by the illustrious Arjuna, his dear friend, the king of the Gandharvas, showed himself unto him. And Hitrasena said, Beholding me thy friend battling with thee, and beholding his friend Hitrasena exhausted indebatably, that Bu among the sons of Pandu withdrew the weapons he had shot, and the other sons of Pandu, beholding Arjuna withdraw his weapons, shook at their flying steeds, and the impetus of their weapons, and withdrew their bows. And Hitrasena, and Bhima, and Arjuna, and the twins inquiring about one another welfare, sat a while on their respective cars. Then that mighty bowman of blazing splendor, Arjuna, smiling, said unto Hitrasena, in the midst of the Gandhara host, what purpose dost thou serve in punishing the Kauravas? Why hath Suryodhana with his wives been thus punished? Hitrasena replied, without stirring from my own abode, I became acquainted with the purpose of the wicked Duryodhana and the wretched Karna in coming hither. The purpose was even this, knowing that ye are exiled in the forest, and suffering great affliction, as if ye had none to take care of you, himself in prosperity. This wretch entertained the desire of beholding you plunged in adversity and misfortune. They came hither for mocking you, and the illustrious doctor of Drupada, the Lord of the Celestials, having ascertained this purpose of theirs, told me, Go thou and bring Duryodhana hither in chains, along with his counselors. Dhananjaya, with his brother, should always be protected by thee in battle, for he is thy dear friend and disciple. At these words of the Lord of the Celestials, I came hither speedily. This wicked prince hath been put in chains. I will now proceed to the region of the Celestials, whither I will lead this wicked at the command of the slayer of Paka. Arjuna answered, saying, If thou wishest to do what is agreeably to me, set Suryodhana free at the command of King Yudhishthira the just, for he is our brother. Hitrasena said, This sinful wretch is always full of vanity. He deserveth not to be set free. He hath deceived and wronged both King Yudhishthira the just and Krishna. Yudhishthira, the son of Kunti, as yet knoweth not the purpose on which the wretch came hither. Let the king do what he desires after knowing everything. After this, all of them went to King Yudhishthira the just, and going unto the king, they represented unto him everything about Duryodhana's conduct, and Ajatasattu, hearing everything that the Gandharavas had said, liberated all the Kauravas and applauded the Gandharavas, and the king said, Fortunate it is for us that talk gifted with great strength. Ye did not yet slay the wicked son of Dhritarashtra, along with our counselors and relatives. These have been an act of great kindness done to me by the Gandharavas. The honor of my family is saved by liberating this wicked. I am glad at seeing you all. Command me what I am to do for you. And having obtained all you wish, return ye soon whence ye came. Thus addressed by the intelligent son of Pandu, the Gandharavas became well pleased and went away with the Apsaras, and the Lord of the Celestials, then coming to that spot, revived those Gandharavas that had been slain in the encounter with the Kurus, by sprinkling the celestial Amrita over them. And the Pandavas, having liberated their relatives, along with the ladies of the royal household, and having achieved that difficult feat, became well pleased. and those illustrious and mighty warriors worshipped by the Kurus, along with their sons and wives, blazed forth in splendor like flaming fires in the sacrificial compound. And Yudhishthira, then addressing the liberated Duryodhana in the midst of his brothers from affection, told him these words: "Never again do such a harsh act. A harsh wicked never cometh by happiness. Pleased be thou with all thy brothers. Go back to thy capital as pleaseth thee, without yielding thyself to despondence or carelessness." Thus dismissed by the son of Pandu, King Duryodhana then saluted King Yudhishthira the just, and overwhelmed with shame, in his heart hand entwined, mechanically set out for his capital like one destitute of life. And after the Kaurava prince had departed, the brave Yudhishthira, the son of Kunti, along with his brothers, was worshipped by the Brahmanas, and surrounded by those Brahmanas, endowed with the wealth of asceticism, like Sakra himself, by the celestials. He began to pass his days happily in the woods of Divaita. Janamejaya said, after his defeat and capture by the foe, and his subsequent liberation by the illustrious sons of Pandu by force of arms, "It seemeth to me that the entry into Hastinapura of the proud, wicked, boastful, vicious, insolent, and wretched Duryodhana, engaged in insulting the sons of Pandu and bragging of his own superiority, must have been exceedingly difficult. Describe to me in detail the entry into the capital of that prince, overwhelmed with shame and unmanned by grief." Dismissed by the king Yudhishthira the just, Dhritarashtra's son Suryodhana, bending his head down in shame and afflicted with grief and melancholy, set out slowly, and the king, accompanied by his 4 kinds of forces, proceeded towards his seat, his heart rent in grief and filled with thoughts of his defeat, along the way in a region that abounded in grass and water. The king encamped on a delightful piece of ground as pleased him best, with his elephants and cars and cavalry and infantry stationed around. And as the king Duryodhana was seated on an elevated bedstead, endowed with the effulgence of fire, himself looking like the moon under an eclipse, towards the small hours of the morning, Karna, approaching him, said, "Fortunate it is that thou art alive. Fortunate it is that we have once more met. By good luck it is that thou hast vanquished the Gandharvas, capable of assuming any form at will. And it is by good luck alone that I am enabled to see thy brothers, mighty warriors all, come off victorious from that encounter, having subjugated their foes. As regards myself, assailed by all the Gandharvas, I fled before thy eyes, unable to rally or flying host. Assailed by the foe with all his might, my body mangled with their arrows. I sought safety in flight. This, however, seemed to me to be a great marvel, that I behold you all come safe and sound in body, with your wives, troops, and vehicles, out of that superhuman encounter. There is another man in this world who can achieve what thou hast achieved in battle today with thy brothers." Thus addressed by Karna, King Duryodhana replied unto the ruler of the Angas in a voice shocked with tears. Duryodhana said, "Thou knowest not what hath happened. therefore I do not assent thy words. Thou thinkest the hostile Gandharvas to have been vanquished by me with my own energy. My brothers, indeed, had for a long time aided by me fought with the Gandharvas. The slaughter on both sides were great, when those brave Gandharvas, resorting to their main powers of illusion, ascended the skies and began to fight with us thence, or encounter with them ceased to be an equal on. Defeat then was ours, and even captivity. And afflicted with sorrow, we along with our attendants and consuls and children and wives and troops and vehicles were being taken by them through the skies. It was then that some soldiers of ours and some brave officers repaired in grief unto the sons of Pandu, those heroes that never refuse succor to those that ask for it. And having gone to them, they said, Here is the king Duryodhana, the son of Dhritarashtra, who with his younger brothers and friends and wives is being led away a captive by the Gandharva along the sky. Blessed be ye, liberate the king along with the woman of the royal household, suffer no insult to be offered unto all the ladies of the Kuru race. And when they had spoken thus, the earls of Pandu's sons, who is endowed with a virtuous soul, then conciliated his brothers, and commanded them to liberate us. Then those bulls among men, the Pandavas, overtaking the Gandharvas, solicited our release in soft words, our talk full ably to effect it by force of arms. And when the Gandharvas, addressed in such conciliatory words, refused to set us at liberty, then Arjuna and Bhima and the twins, endowed with might energy, shot showers of arrows at the Gandharvas. Then the Gandharvas, abandoning the fight, fled through the sky, dragging our melancholy selves after them, filled with joy. Then we beheld a network of arrows spread around by the Dhananjaya, who was shooting celestial weapons upon the foe, and seeing the points of the horizon covered by Arjuna with a thick network of sharp arrows, his friend, the chief of the Gandharvas, showed himself, and Hitrasena and Arjuna, embracing each other, inquired after each other's welfare, and the other sons of Pandu embraced the chief of the Gandharvas, and were embraced by him, and inquiries of courtesy passed between them, and the brave Gandharvas, then abandoning their weapons and mail, mingled in a friendly spirit with the Pandavas. And Hitrasena and Dhananjaya worshipped each other with regard. Duryodhana said, that is slayer of hostile heroes, Arjuna, then approaching Hitrasena, smiling addressed him in these manly words. It behoveth thee to set my brothers at liberty. They are incapable of being suited as long as the sons of Pandu are alive. Thus addressed by the illustrious son of Pandu, the chief of the Gandharvas, disclosed unto the Pandavas the object we had in view in proceeding to that place, that we came there for casting our eyes on the sons of Pandu with their wife, all plunged in misery. And while the Gandharva was disclosing those counsels of ours, overwhelmed with shame, I desired the earth to yield me a crevice, that I might disappear there and then. The Gandharvas, then accompanied by the Pandavas, went to Yudhishthira, and, disclosing unto him counsels, made us over, bound as we were to him. Alas, what greater sorrow could be mine than that I should thus be offered as a tribute unto Yudhishthira in the very sight of the woman of our household, myself in shanks and plunged in misery, and under the absolute control of my enemies. Alas, they who have ever been persecuted by me, they unto whom I have ever been a foe, released me from captivity, and wretch that I am indebted to them for my life. If I had met with my death in that great battle, that would have been far better than that I should have obtained my life in this way. If I had been slain by the Gandharvas, my fame would have spread over the whole earth, and I should have obtained auspicious regions of eternal bliss in the heaven of Indra. Listen to me, therefore, ye boys among men, as to what I intend to do now. I will stay here, foregoing our food, while ye are returned home. Let all my brothers go to Hastinapura. Let all our friends, including Karna and all our relatives, headed by Dusasana, return now to the capital. Insulted by the foe, I myself will not repair thither. I who had before wrested from the foe his respect, I who had always enhanced the respect of my friends, have now become a source of sorrow unto friends and of joy unto enemies. What shall I now say unto the king, going to the seat named after the elephant? What will Bhisma and Drona, Kripa and Drona's son, Vidyura and Sanjaya, Vahuka and Somadatta and other revered seniors? What will the principal men of the other orders and men of independent professions say to me, and what shall I say unto them in reply? Having hitherto stayed over the heads of my enemies, having hitherto trod upon their breasts, I have fallen away from my position. How shall I ever speak with them? Insolent men having obtained prosperity and knowledge and affluence are seldom blessed for any length of time, like myself, puffed up with vanity. Alas, let by fall, I have done a highly improper and wicked act, for which, fool that I am, I have fallen into such distress. Therefore will I perish by starving, life having become insupportably to me. Relieved from distress by the foe, what man of spirit is there who can drag on his existence? Proud as I am, shorn of manliness, the foe hath looked at me, for the Pandavas, possessed of prowess, have looked at me plunged in misery. While giving way to such reflections, Duryodhana spoke unto Dusasana thus: Listen to these words of mine. Accepting this installation that I offer thee, be thou king in my place, rule thou the wide earth, protected by Karna and Suvala sons, like Indra himself, looking after the Maruts. Cherish thou thy brothers in such a way that they may all confide in thee. Let the friends and relatives depend on thee like the gods depending on him of 100 sacrifices. Always shouldst thou bestow pensions on Brahmanas without idleness, and be thou ever the refuge of thy friends and relatives. Like Vishnu looking after the celestials, thou shouldst always look after our consanguineous relatives. Thou shouldst ever cherish thy superiors. Go, rule thou the earth gladdening thy friends, and reproving thy foes. And clasping his neck, Duryodhana said, Go. Hearing these words of his, Dushasana, in perfect childlessness, and overwhelmed with great sorrow, his voice shocked in tears, said, with joined hands, and bending his head unto his eldest brother, Heland. And saying this, he fell down on earth with heavy heart, and afflicted with grief, the tiger among men, shedding his tears on the feet of his brother, again said, This will never be. The earth may split, the vault of heaven may break in pieces, the sun may cast off his splendor, the moon may abandon his coolness, the wind may forsake its speed, the Himavat may be moved from its site, the waters of the ocean may dry up, and fire may abandon its heat. Yet I may never rule the earth without thee. And Dushasana repeatedly said, Land, thou alone shalt be king in our haste for 100 years. And having spoken thus unto the king, Dushasana began to weep melodiously, catching the feet of his eldest brother, deserving of worship from him. And beholding Dushasana and Duryodhana thus weeping, Karna in great grief approached them both and said, Ye Kuru princes, why do you thus yield to sorrow like ordinary men from senselessness? Mere weeping can never ease a sorrowing man's grief. When weeping can never remove on griefs, what do you gain by thus giving way to sorrow? Summon patience to your aid. Do not gladden the foe by such conduct. The Pandavas only did their duty in liberating thee. They that reside in the dominions of the king should always do what is agreeably to the king. Protected by thee, the Pandavas are residing happily in thy dominion. It behoveth thee not to indulge in such sorrow like an ordinary person. Behold, thy uterine brothers are all sad and childless at seeing thee resolved to put an end to thy life by foregoing food. Blessed be thou, rise up and come to thy city, and console these thy uterine brothers. This conduct of thine today appeareth to be childish. What is to be wondered at in this, that the Pandavas liberated thee when thou wert vanquished by the foe? Those that reside in the territories of the king, especially those that lead the profession of arms, should always do what is agreeably to the king, whether they happen to be known to their monarch or unknown to him. It happened often that foremost men who crush the ranks of the hostile host are vanquished by them, and are rescued by their own troops. They that leading the profession of arms reside in the king's realm should always convene and exert themselves to the best of their power for the king. If the Pandavas who live in the territories have liberated thee, what is there to be regretted at in this? That the Pandavas did not follow thee when thou didst march forth to battle at the head of thy troops has been an improper act on their part. They had before this come under thy power, becoming thy slaves. They are bound to aid thee now, being endowed with courage and might, and incapable of turning away from the field of battle. Thou art enjoying all the rich possessions of the Pandavas. Behold them yet alive. They have not resolved to die, foregoing our food. Blessed be thou, rise up. It behoveth thee not to indulge in great sorrow long. It is the certain duty of those that reside in the king's realm to do what is agreeably to the king. Where should the regret be in all this? If thou dost not act according to my words, I shall stay here employed in reverential serving thy feet. I do not desire to leave deprived of thy company. If thou resolvest to slay thyself by foregoing food, thou wilt simply be an object of laughter with other kings. Thus addressed by Karna, King Duryodhana firmly resolved to leave the world, desired not to rise from where he sat. Beholding King Duryodhana, incapable of putting up with an insult, seated with the resolution of giving up life by foregoing food, Sakuni, the son of Suvala, said these words to comfort him. Sakuni said, "You have just heard what Karna have said. His words are, indeed, fraught with wisdom. Why, once thou abandoning from foolishness the high prosperity that I won for thee, cast off thy life today, yielding to silliness? It seemeth to me today that thou hast never waited upon the oath. He that cannot control sudden accession of joy or grief is lost, even though he may have obtained prosperity, like an unburnt earthen vessel in water. That king who is entirely destitute of courage, who hath no spark of manliness, who is the slave of procrastination, who always acts with indiscretion, who is addicted to sensual pleasures, is seldom respected by his subjects. Benefited as thou hast been, whence is this unreasonable grief of thine? Do not undo this graceful act done by the sons of Pritha, by indulging in such grief. When thou showest joy and reward the Pandavas, thou art grieving. Indeed, this behavior of thine is inconsistent. Be cheerful. Do not cast away thy life. Remember with a pleased heart the good they have done thee. Give back unto the sons of Pritha their kingdom, and win thou both virtue and renown by such conduct. By acting in this way, thou mayest be grateful. Establish brotherly relations with the Pandavas by being friends, and give them their paternal kingdom, for then thou wilt be happy." Hearing these words of Sakuni, and seeing the brave Dusasana lying prostrate before him, unmanned by fraternal love, the king raised Dusasana, and clasping him in his well-round arms, smote his head from affection. And hearing these words of Karna and Savala, King Duryodhana lost heart more than ever, and he was overwhelmed with shame, and utter despair overtook his soul. And hearing all that his friend said, he answered with sorrow, "I have nothing more to do with virtue, wealth, friendship, affluence, sovereignty, and enjoyment. Do not obstruct my purpose. Leave me out of you. I am firmly resolved to cast away my life by foregoing food, returning to the seat, and treat my superiors there respectfully." Thus addressed by him, they replied unto that royal grinder of foes, saying, "The course that is thine is ours. How can we enter the seat without thee?" Tog, addressed in all manner of ways by his friends and counselors and brothers and relatives, the king wavered not from his purpose, and the son of Dhritarashtra, in accordance with his purpose, spread kusa grass on the earth, and purifying himself by touching water, sat down upon that spot, and clad in hags and kusa grass, he set himself to observe the high vow, and stopping our speech, the tiger among kings, moved by the desire of going to heaven, began to pray and worship internally, suspending our external intercourse. Meanwhile, the fierce deities and the Danavas, who had been defeated of old by the Celestials and had been dwelling in the nether regions, having ascertained Duryodhana's purpose and knowing that if the king died, their path would be weakened, commenced a sacrifice with fire for summoning Duryodhana to their presence, and mantra-knowing persons then commenced, with the help of formulae declared by Vrihaspati and Usanas, those rites that are indicated in the Atiharva, Veda, and the Upanishads, and which are capable of being achieved by mantras and prayers. And Brahmins of rigid vows, well versed in the Vedas and the branches, began with rapt soul to pour libations of clarified butter and milk into the fire, uttering mantras, and after those rites were ended, a strange goddess with mouth wide open arose, saying, "What am I to do?" And the deities, with well-pleased hearts, commanded her, saying, "Bring thou hither the royal son of Dhritarashtra, who is even now observing the vow of starvation, for getting rid of his life." Thus commanded, she went away, saying, "So be it." And she went in the twinkling of an eye to that spot where Suryodhana was, and taking up the king back to the nether regions, and having brought him thus in a moment, she apprised the Danavas of it, and the Danavas, beholding the king brought into their midst in the night, united together, and all of them with well-pleased hearts and eyes expanded in delight, addressed these flattering words to Duryodhana. The Danavas said, "Thou art ever surrounded by heroes and illustrious men. Why hast thou then undertaken to do such a harsh act as the vow of starvation? The suicide ever sinketh into hell, and becometh the subject of calumnious speech. Nor do intelligent persons like thee ever set their hands to acts that are sinful and opposed to their best interests, and striking at the very root of their purposes. Restrain this resolve of thine, which is destructive of morality, profit, and happiness, of fame, prowess, and energy, and which enhanceth the joy of foes. Know the truth, the celestial origin of thy soul, and the maker of thy body, and then summon thou patience to thy aid. In days of old we have obtained thee, by ascetic austerities, from Mahesvara. The upper part of thy body is whole, made of an assemblage of Vajras, and is, therefore, invulnerable to weapons of every description. The lower part of thy body, capable of captivating the female heart by its comeliness, was made of flowers by the goddess herself, the wife of Mahadeva. The body is thus the creation of Mahesvara himself and his goddess. Thou art of celestial origin, not woman, O the brave Kshatriyas of might energy, headed by Bihagadatta, and all acquainted with celestial weapons, we will slay thy foes. Therefore let this grief of thine cease. Thou hast no cause for fear, for aiding thee. Many heroic Pandavas have been born on the earth. Other Asuras will possess Bhishma and Drona and Karna and others. Possessed by those Asuras, these heroes will cast away their kingdoms and fight with thy foes. Indeed, when the Pandavas will enter their heart and possess them completely, flinging our affections to a distance, becoming hard-hearted, these warriors will strike everybody opposed to them in battle without sparing sons, brothers, fathers, friends, disciples, relatives, even children and old men, blinded by ignorance and wrath, and impelled by that destiny which hath been ordained by the Creator. These tigers among men, with hearts steeped in sin, will depopulate the earth by hurling and shooting all kinds of weapons, with great manliness and strength, and always addressing one another boastful with words such as these: Thou shalt not escape from me today with life. And these illustrious sons of Pandu, 5 in number, will fight with these, and endowed with might strength, and favored by fate, they will compass the destruction of these. And many deities and Rakshasas that have been born in the Kshatriya order will fight with great prowess in the battle with thy foes, using maces and clubs and lances and various weapons of a superior kind, and with respect to the fear that is in thy heart rising from Arjuna, we have already settled the means for slaying Arjuna. The soul of the slain Naraka hath assumed the form of Karna. Recollecting his former hostility, he will encounter both Kesava and Arjuna, and that might warrior and foremost of its meter, proud of his prowess, will vanquish Arjuna in battle, as also all thy enemies. The elder of the thunderbolt, knowing all this, and desirous of saving Arjuna, will in disguise take away from Karna his earrings and coat of mail. We have for that reason appointed hundreds upon hundreds and thousands upon thousands of deities and Rakshasas, those that are known by the name of Samsapitakas. The celebrated warriors will slay the heroic Arjuna. Grieve not, thou wilt rule the whole earth without a rival. Do not yield to despondence. Conduct such as these does not suit thee. If thou diest, or part becometh weak, go thou, and let not thy mind be directed to any other course of action. Thou art ever our refuge, as indeed the Pandavas are the refuge of the gods. Having addressed him thus, those deities embraced that elephant among kings, and those bulls among the Pandavas shared that irrepressibly on like a son. And pacifying his mind by soft speech, they permitted him to depart, saying, Go and attain victory. And when they had given leave to the might-armed on, that very goddess carried him back to the spot where he had sat down, intent upon putting an end to his life. And having set that hero down and paid him homage, the goddess vanished, taking the king permission. When she had gone, King Duryodhana considered all as a dream. He then talked within himself, I shall defeat the Pandavas in battle, and Suryodhana tugged death. Karna and the Samsapitaka arm were both ably and intent upon destroying that slayer of foes, Partha. Thus the hope was strengthened of the wicked-minded son of Dhritarashtra of conquering the Pandavas, and Karna he saw in faculties possessed by the inmost soul of Naraka, had at that time cruelly determined to slay Arjuna, and those heroes, the Samsapitakas, having their sense possessed by the Rakshasas, and influenced by the qualities of emotion and darkness, were desirous of slaying Pihalguna. And others with Bhishma, Drona, and Kripa at their head, having their faculties influenced by the Danavas, were not affectionate towards the sons of Pandu as they had been. King Suryodhana did not tell anyone of this. When the night passed away, Karna, that offspring of the sun, with joined hands, smiling addressed these wise words to King Duryodhana. No dead man conquereth his foes. It is when he is alive that he can see his good. Where is the good of the dead person, and where is his victory? This is no time for grief, or fear, or death, and having with his arms embraced that might armed on, he further said, Rise up, why dost thou lie down? Why dost thou grieve? Having afflicted thy enemies by thy prowess, why dost thou wish for death? Or fear hath possessed thee at the sight of Arjuna prowess? I truly promise unto thee that I will slay Arjuna immediately. I swear by my weapon that when the 3 and 10 years shall have passed away, I will bring the sons of Pritha under thy subjection. Thus addressed by Karna, and remembering the words of the deities and supplications made by them, Suryodhana rose up, and having heard those words of the deities, the tiger among men, with a firm resolve in his heart, raised his arm, abounding in horses and elephants and cars and infantry, and immensely swarming with white umbrellas and pennons and white camaras and cars and elephants and foot soldiers that might arm as it moved like the waters of the Ganga, looked graceful like the firmament at a season when the clouds have dispersed and the signs of autumn have been partially developed, and eulogized like a monarch by the best of the Brahmanas, blessing with victory that Lord of men Suryodhana, Dhritarashtra's son, receiving honors paid with innumerably joined palms and flaming in exceeding splendor, went in the front accompanied by Karna, and that gambler, the son of Suvala, and all his brothers, with Dusasana at their head, and Bihu his Rava, and Somadatta, and the might King Valika followed that liar among king on his way, with cars of various forms, and horses, and the best of elephants, and those perpetuators of the Kuru race entered their own city. Janamejaya said, when the high-souled sons of Pritha were living in the forest, what did those foremost of men in might archers, the sons of Dhritarashtra, do? And what did the offspring of the sun, Karna, and the might Sakuni, and Bhishma, and Drona, and Kripa, do? It behoveth thee to relate this unto me. When in this manner the Pandavas had gone, living Suryodhana, and when having been liberated by Pandu's sons, he had come to Hastinapura. Bhishma said these words to the son of Dhritarashtra. I had told thee before, when thou wert intent upon going to the hermitage, that thy journey did not please me. Thou didst do, and as a consequence, wert thou forcibly taken captive by the enemy, and wert delivered by the Pandavas vexed immorality. Yet art thou not ashamed, even in the presence of thee. Together with thy arm did the Suta son, struck with panic, fly from the battle of the Gandharbas. And while thou with thy arm wert crying distressful, thou didst witness the prowess of the high-souled Pandavas, and of the wicked son of the Suta, Karna. Whether in the science of arms, or heroism, or morality, Karna is not a fourth part of the Pandavas. Therefore, for the welfare of this race, the conclusion of peace is, I think, desirably with the high-souled Pandavas. Having been thus addressed by Bhishma, Dhritarashtra's son, the king, logged a good deal, and then suddenly sailed out with the son of Suvala. Thereupon, knowing that he was gone, those mighty bowmen with Karna and Dusasana at their head followed the highly powerful son of Dhritarashtra, and seeing them gone, Bhishma, the grandfather of the Kurus, hung down his head from shame, and then went to his own quarters. And when Bhishma had left that lot of men, Dhritarashtra's son came there again, and began to consult with his counselors. What is it that is good for me? What remaineth to be done? And how we can most effectively bring about the good we shall discuss today? Karna said. Duryodhana, do thou lay to heart the words that I say. Bhishma always blameth us and praiseth the Pandavas, and from the ill will he beareth towards thee. He hateth me, and in thy presence he ever crieth me down. I shall never bear these words that Bhishma had said in thy presence in relation to this matter, extolling the Pandavas and censuring thee. Do thou enjoy on me, together with servants, forces, and cars. I shall conquer the earth, punished with mountains, and woods, and forests. The earth had been conquered by the 4 Pandavas. I shall, without doubt, conquer it for thee single-handed. Let that wretch of the Kuru race, the exceedingly wicked-minded Bhishma, see it, he who vilifies those that do not deserve censure, and praises those that should not be praised. Let him this day witness my might, and blame himself. Do thou command me, victory shall surely be thine. By my weapon I swear this before thee. Hearing those words of Karna, that lord of men, experiencing the highest delight, spoke unto Karna, saying, I am blessed, I have been favored by thee, since thou, endowed with great strength, art ever intent on my welfare. My life hath borne fruit today. As thou intendest to subdue our enemies, prepare thou, may good betide thee. Do thou command me. Having been thus addressed by Dhritarashtra, intelligent son. Karna ordered out the necessaries for the excursion, and on an auspicious lunar day, at an auspicious moment, and under the influence of a star presided over by an auspicious deity, that marked bowmen, having been honored by twice born ons, and being buffeted with auspicious and whole substances, and worshipped by speech, set out, filling with the rear of his car the three walls with their mobile and immobile objects. Then that marked bowman, Karna, surrounded by large arms, besieged the beautiful city of Drupada, and he, after a hard conflict, brought the hero under subjection, and made Drupada contribute silver and gold and gems, and pay tribute. And having subdued him, brought under subjection those princes that were under him, and made them pay tribute. Then, going to the north, he subdued the Sovereigns, and having effected the defeat of Bihagadatta, Harihason ascended that marked mountain Himavat all along, fighting his foes. And hanging all sides, he conquered and brought under subjection all the kings inhabiting the Himavat, and made them pay dues. Then, descending from the mountain and rushing to the east, he reduced the Angas, and the Bangas, and the Kalingas, and the Mandikas, and the Magadhas, the Karkakihandas, and included with them the Avasiras, Yodhiyas, and the Ahikishatras, having conquered the eastern quarter. Karna then presented himself before Bhattisa Bhumi, and having taken Bhattisa Bhumi, he reduced Kevali, and Miritikavati, and Mohana, and Patrana, and Tripura, and Kosala, and compelled all these to pay tribute. Then, going to the south, Karna vanquished the mighty chariots, and in Dakishahinatia, the Sutason entered into conflict with Hokimi. After having fought dreadful, Hokimi spake to the Sutason, saying, I have been pleased with thy might and prowess. I shall not do thee wrong. I have only fulfilled the vow of a Kshatriya. Gladly will I give thee as many gold coins as thou desirest. Having met with Hokimi, Karna repaired to Pandya and the mountain Sri, and by fighting he made Karala, King Nila, Venudari son, and other best of kings living in the southern direction pay tribute. Then going to Sisupala son, the son of the Sutta, defeated him, and that highly powerful one brought under his sway all the neighboring rulers, and having subjugated the Avantis, and concluded peace with them, and having met with the Vrishnis, he conquered the west, and having come to the quarter of Varuna, he made all the Yavana and Varvara kings pay tribute, and having conquered the entire earth, east, west, north, and south, that hero without an AD brought under subjection all the nations of the Melekhas, the Mountaineers, the Bihadras, the Hohitakas, the Agneyas, and the Malavas. And having conquered the mighty chariots headed by Naginajitas, the Sutason brought the Sasakas and the Yavanas under his sway. Having thus conquered and brought under his subjection the world, the mighty Kshatriyata and tiger among men came to Hastinapura. That lord of men, Dhritarashtra's son, accompanied by his father and brothers and friends, came to that mighty bowman who had arrived, and all paid homage unto Karna, crowned with martial merit. And the king proclaimed his feats, saying, "What I have not received from either Bhishma, or Drona, or Kripa, or Valika, I have received from thee. May good betide thee. What need of speaking at length? Hear my words. In thee I have my refuge. Without doubt, all the Pandavas and the other kings crowned with prosperity come not to a 16th part of thee. Do thou see Dhritarashtra and the illustrious Gandhari as the bearer of the thunderbolt did Aditi." Then there arose in the city of Hastinapura a clamor and sounds of awe and alas, and some of the kings praised him, while others censured him, while others again remained silent. Having thus in a short time conquered this earth, furnished with mountains and forests and skies, and with oceans and fields, and filled with high and low tracts and cities, and replete with islands, and brought the monarchs under subjection, and having gained imperishable wealth, the Suta's son appeared before the king. Then, entering into the interior of the palace, that hero saw Dhritarashtra with Gandhari, that on conversant with morality took hold of his feet even like a son. And Dhritarashtra embraced him affectionately, and then dismissed him. Ever since that time, King Duryodhana and Sakuni, the son of Suvala, thought that pretty her sons had already been defeated in battle by Karna. That is slayer of hostile heroes, the Suta's son, said these words to Duryodhana: "Do thou lay unto thy heart the words that I shall tell thee, and after having heard my words, it behoveth thee to act accordingly in every way. Now hath the earth been rid of foes. Do thou rule her even like the might-minded Sakra himself, having his foes destroyed." Having been thus addressed by Karna, the king again spake unto him, saying, "Nothing whatever is unattainable to him who hath thee for refuge, and to whom thou art attached, and on whose welfare thou art entirely intent. Now I have a purpose, which do thou truly listen to." Having beheld that foremost of sacrifices, the mighty Rajasuya, performed by the Pandavas, a desire hath sprung up in me. Do thou fulfill this desire of mine. Thus addressed, Karna spake thus unto the king: "Now that all the rulers of the earth have been brought under thy subjection, do thou summon the principal Brahmanas, and do procure the articles required for the sacrifice, and let Hittivises, as prescribed and versed in the Vedas, celebrate thy rites according to the ordinance, and let thy great sacrifice, abounding in meats and drinks, and grand with parts, commence." Having been thus addressed by Karna, Dhritarashtra's son summoned the priest, and he spake unto him these words: Do thou do in proper order celebrate for me that best of sacrifices, the Rajasuya, furnished with excellent dakshhinas. Thus accosted that best of Brahmanas, he spake unto the king, saying, While Yudhishthira is living, that best of sacrifices cannot be performed in thy family. Further, thy father, Dhritarashtra, endowed with long life, liveth. For this reason, this sacrifice cannot be undertaken by thee. There is another great sacrifice, resembling the Rajasuya. Do thou celebrate that sacrifice. Listen to these words of mine. All these rulers of the earth who have become tributary to thee will pay thee tribute in gold, both poor and impure. Of that gold do thou now make the plough, and do thou plough the sacrificial compound with it. At that spot let there commence, with due rites, and without any disturbance, the sacrifice, sanctified with mantras, abounding in edibles. The name of that sacrifice, worthy of virtuous persons, is Vaisnava. No person save the ancient Vishnu hath performed it before. This might sacrifice these with that best of sacrifices, the Rajasuya itself. And further, it liketh us, and it is for thy welfare, and moreover, it is capable of being celebrated without any disturbance. Thy desire will be fulfilled. Having been thus addressed by those Brahmanas, Dhritarashtra's son, the king, spake these words to Karna, his brothers, and the son of Suvala. Beyond doubt, the words of the Brahmanas are entirely liked by me. If they are relished by you, also express it without delay. Thus appealed, they are said unto the king, So be it. Then the king on by on appointed persons to their respective tasks, and desired all the artisans to construct the plough, and all that had been commanded to be done was gradually executed. Then all the artisans, the principal counselors, and the highly wise Vidura said unto Dhritarashtra's son, All the preparations for the excellent sacrifice have been made, and the time hath come, and the exceedingly precious golden plough hath been constructed. Hearing this, that best of kings, Dhritarashtra's son, commanded that prime among sacrifices to be commenced. Then commenced that sacrifice sanctified by mantras and abounding in edibles, and the son of Gandhihari was duly initiated according to the ordinance, and Dhritarashtra and the illustrious Vidura and Bhishma and Drona and Kripa and Karna and the celebrated Gandhihari experienced great delight. And Duryodhana dispatched swift messengers to invite the princes and the Brahmanas, and mounting fleet vehicles, they went to the directions assigned to them. Then to a certain messenger, on the point of setting out, Dusasana said, Go thou speedily to the woods of Devaita, and in that forest do invite the Brahmanas and those wicked persons, the Pandavas. Thereupon he hurried thither, and bowing down to all the Pandavas, said, Having acquired immense wealth by his native prowess, that best of kings and foremost of Kurus, Duryodhana, is celebrating a sacrifice. Thither are going from various directions the kings and the brahmanas have been sent by the high-souled Kaurava. That king and lord of men, Dhritarashtra's son, invites you, it behoveth you, to witness the delightful sacrifice of that monarch. Hearing these words of the messenger, that tiger among kings, the royal Yudhishthira said, by good luck it is that enhancer of the glory of his ancestors, King Suryodhana, is celebrating this best of sacrifices. We should certainly prepare thither. We cannot do now, for till the 13th year we shall have to observe our vow. Hearing this speech of Yudhishthira, the just Bhishma said these words. Then will King Yudhishthira, the just, go thither, when he will cast him into the fire, kindled by weapons. Do thou say unto Suryodhana, when after the expiration of the 13th year, that Lord of men, the Pandava, will, in the sacrifice of battle, pour upon the Dhritarashtra's the clarified butter of his ear, then will I come. The other Pandavas did not say anything unpleasant. The messenger related unto the Dhritarashtra's son, as it had fallen out. Then there came to the city of the Dhritarashtra men foremost of men, lords of various countries, and highly virtuous Brahmanas, and duly received in order according to the ordinance. Those lords of men experienced great delight, and were all well pleased. And that foremost among monarchs, the Dhritarashtra, surrounded by all the Kauravas, experienced the height of joy, and spake unto Vidura, saying, do thou speedily act that all persons in the sacrificial compound may be served in food, be refreshed and satisfied. Thereupon, assenting to that order, the learned Vidura, versed in morality, cheerful entertained all the orders in proper measure, with meat and beverages to eat and drink, and fragrant garlands and various kinds of attire. And having constructed pavilions, that hero and foremost of kings duly entertained the princes and the Brahmanas by thousands, and bestowing upon them wealth of various kinds, bade them farewell. And having dismissed all the kings, he entered Hastinapura, surrounded by his brothers, and in company with Karna and Subala's son. While Duryodhana was entering, the panegyrists eulogized the prince of unfailing prowess, and others eulogized that might-bow man and foremost of kings, and sprinkling over him freed pad and sandal past, the citizens said, by good luck it is that thy sacrifice hath been completed without obstruction. And some, more hecklers of speech, that were present there, said unto that Lord of the earth, surely this thy sacrifice cannot be compared with Yudhishthira, nor doth this come up to a 16th part of that. Thus spake unto that king some that were hecklers of consequence, his friends, said, the sacrifice of thine hath surpassed all others. Yayati and Nahusha and Mandihata and Viharata, having been sanctified by celebrating such a sacrifice, have all gone to heaven, hearing such agreeable words from his friends. That monarch, well pleased, entered the seat, and finally his own abode. Then, worshipping the feet of his father and mother and of others headed by Bhisma, Drona, and Kripa, and of the wise Vidura, and worshipped in turn by his younger brothers, that the lighter of brothers sat down upon an excellent seat, surrounded by the latter, and the Sutta son, rising up, said, "By good luck it is that this mighty sacrifice of thine hath been brought to a close. When, however, the sons of Pritha shall have been slain in battle, and thou wilt have completed the Rajasuya sacrifice, once again shall I honor thee thus." Then that mighty king, the illustrious son of Dhritarashtra, replied unto him, "Truly have these been spoken by thee. When the wicked-minded Pandavas have been slain, and when the grand Rajasuya have been celebrated by me, then thou shalt again honor me thus." And having said this, the Kaurava embraced Karna, and began to think of the Rajasuya, that foremost of sacrifices, and that best of kings, addressed the Kurus around him, saying, "When shall I, ye Kauravas, having slain all the Pandavas, celebrate that costly and foremost of sacrifices, the Rajasuya?" Then spake Karna unto him, saying, "Hear me. Long as I do not slay Arjuna, I shall not allow anyone to wash my feet, nor shall I taste meat, and I shall observe the Asura vow, and whoever may solicit me, I never shall say, I have eaten not." When Karna had thus vowed to slay Pihalguna in battle, those mighty charioteers and bowmen, the sons of Dhritarashtra, sent up a loud cheer, and Dhritarashtra's sons talked that the Pandavas had already been conquered. Then that chief of kings, the graceful Duryodhana, leaving those bulls among men, entered his apartment like the Lord Kuvera entered the garden of Hitarahatiha, and all those mighty bowmen went to their respective quarters. Meanwhile, those mighty bowmen, the Pandavas, excited by the words the messenger had spoken, became anxious, and they did not experience the least happiness. Intelligence, further, had been brought by spies regarding the vow of the Sutta son to slay Vijaya. Hearing this, the Dharma son became exceedingly anxious, and considering Karna of the impenetrable male to be of wonderful prowess, and remembering all their woes, he knew no peace, and that high-souled one filled with anxiety, made up his mind to abandon the woods about the Vaitavana, abounding with ferocious animals. Meanwhile, the royal son of Dhritarashtra began to rule the earth, along with his heroic brothers, as also with Bhisma and Drona and Kripa, and with the assistance of the Sutta son, crowned with martial glory. Duryodhana remained ever intent on the welfare of the rulers of the earth, and he worshipped the foremost of Brahmanas by celebrating sacrifices with profuse gifts. And that hero and subduer of foes was engaged in doing good to his brothers, concluding for certain in his mind that giving and enjoying are the own use of riches. Janamejaya said, after having delivered Duryodhana, "What did the mighty sons of Pandu do in that forest? it behoveth thee to tell me this. Once on a time, as Yudhishthira lay down at night in the Divaita woods, some deer with a sons shocked in tears presented themselves before him in his dreams. To them, standing with joined hands, their bodies trembling all over, that foremost of monarchs said, "Tell me what ye wish to say. Who are ye, and what do ye desire?" Thus accosted by Kunti's son, the illustrious Pandava, those dear, the remnant of those that had been slaughtered, replied unto him, saying, "We are those deer that are still alive after them that had been slaughtered. We shall be exterminated totally. Do thou change thy residence. All thy brothers are heroes, conversant with weapons. They have thinned the ranks of the rangers of the forest. We fell, the remnants, remain like seed. By thy favor, let us increase, seeing these deer which remained like seed after the rest had been destroyed, trembling and afflicted with fear." Yudhishthira, the just, was greatly affected with grief, and the king, intent on the welfare of all creatures, said unto them, "So be it. I shall act as ye have said." Awaking after such a vision, that excellent king, moved by pity towards the deer, thus he spake unto his brothers assembled there, "Those deer that are alive after them that have been slaughtered accosted me at night, after I had awakened, saying, We remain like the cows of our lines. Blessed be thou, do thou have compassion on us. And they have spoken truly. We ought to feel pity for the dwellers of the forest. We have been feeding on them for a year together in 8 months. Let us again to the remote Kamiakas, that best of forests, abounding in wild animals, situated at the head of the desert, near the lake Trinavindo. And there let us pleasantly pass the rest of our time. Then the Pandavas, vested in morality, swiftly departed, accompanied by the Brahmanas and all those that lived with them, and followed by Indrasena and other retainers, and proceeding along the roads, walked, furnished with excellent corn and clear water. They at length beheld the sacred asylum of Kamiaka, and went with ascetic merity, and as pious men entered the celestial regions. Those foremost of the Bharata race, the Kauravas, surrounded by those bulls among Brahmanas, entered that forest. Dwelling in the woods, the high-souled Pandavas spent on and 10 years in a miserably plagued, and, although deserving of happiness, those foremost of men, brooding over their circumstances, passed their days miserably, living on fruits and roots. And that royal sage, the might-armed Yudhishthira, reflecting that the extremity of misery that had befallen his brothers was owing to his own fault, and remembering those sufferings that had arisen from his act of gambling, could not sleep peacefully. And he felt as if his heart had been pierced with a lance, and remembering the harsh words of the Sutason, the Pandava, repressing the venom of his wrath, passed his time in humble guise, singing heavily. And Arjuna, and both the twins, and the illustrious Draupadi, and the mighty Bhishma, he that was strongest of all men, experienced the most poignant pain in casting their eyes on Yudhishthira, and thinking that a short time on remained. Those boys among men, influenced by hate and hope, and by resorting to various exertions and endeavors, made their bodies assume almost different shapes. After a little while, that might ascetic Vyasa, the son of Satyavati, came there to see the Pandavas, and seeing him approach, Kunti's son, Yudhishthira, stepped forward, and received that high solid on, and having gratified Vyasa by bowing down unto him, Pandu, son of subdued senses, after the dish had been seated, sat down before him, desirous of listening to him, and beholding his grandsons, Leon and living in the forest, on the produce of the wilderness, that might sage, moved by compassion, say these words in a sense, shocked in tears. Thou best of virtuous persons, those men that do not perform ascetic austerities never attain great happiness in this world. People experience happiness and misery by turns, for surely no man ever enjoyeth unbroken happiness. A wise man endeth with high wisdom, knowing that life hath its ups and downs, is neither filled with joy nor with grief. When happiness cometh, one should enjoy it. When misery cometh, one should bear it, as a sower of crops must bide his season. Nothing is superior to asceticism, but asceticism on acquireth might fruit. Do thou know that there is nothing that asceticism cannot achieve? Truth, sincerity, freedom from anger, justice, self-control, restraint of the faculties, immunity from malice, guilelessness, sanctity, and mortification of the senses. These purify a person of meritorious acts. Foolish persons addicted to vice in bestial ways attain to brutish births in afterlife and never enjoy happiness. The fruit of acts done in this world is heaped in the next. Therefore, should one restrain his body by asceticism and the observance of vows, and free from guile, and with a cheerful spirit, one should, according to his power, bestow gifts after going down to the recipient and paying him homage. A truth-telling person attaineth a life devoid of trouble. A person void of anger attaineth sincerity, and one free from malice acquireth supreme contentment. A person who hath subdued his senses and his inner faculties never knoweth tribulation, nor is a person of subdued senses affected by sorrow at the height of other prosperity. A man who giveth everyone his due, and the bestower of boons attain happiness, and come by every object of enjoyment, while a man free from envy heapeth perfect ease. He that honoureth those to whom honour is due attaineth birth in an illustrious line, and he that hath subdued his senses never cometh by misfortune. A man whose mind followeth good, after having paid his debt to nature, is on this account born again, and with a righteous mind. Yudhishthira said, of the bestowal of gifts in the observance of asceticism, which is of greater efficacy in the next world, in which harder of praxis. Vyasa said, there is nothing in this world harder to praxis than charity. Men greatly thirst after wealth, and wealth is gotten with difficulty. Nay, announcing even dear life itself, heroic men enter into the deeps of the sea and the forest for the sake of wealth. For wealth, some betake themselves to agriculture and the tending of kine, and some enter into servitude. Therefore, it is extremely difficult to part with wealth that is obtained with such trouble, since nothing is harder to practice than charity. Therefore, in my opinion, even the bestowal of boons is superior to everything. Especially is this to be borne in mind that well-earned gains should, in proper time and place, be given away to pious men. The bestowal of ill-gotten gains can never rescue the giver from the evil of his birth. It hath been declared that, by bestowing in a poor spirit even a slight gift in due time, and to a fit recipient, a man attaineth inexhaustible fruit in the next world. In this connection is instanced the old history regarding the fruit obtained by Mudigala for having given away only a drona of corn. Yudhishthira said, why did that high-souled one give away a drona of corn? And to whom and in what prescribed way did he give it? Do thou tell me this. Surely, I consider the life of that virtuous person as having borne fruit with whose praxis the possessor himself of the six attributes, witnessing everything, was well pleased. Vyasa said, there lived in Kurukshetra a virtuous man, Mudigala by name, and he was truthful and free from malice, and of subdued senses, and he used to lead the sila in unkha modes of life. And our talk, living like a pigeon, yet that on of might austerities, entertained his guests, celebrated the sacrifice called istikrita, and performed other rites. And that sage, together with his son and wife, ate for a fortnight, and during the other fortnight led the life of a pigeon, collecting a drona of corn, and celebrating the darsa and paurnamasiya sacrifices, that on the void of Gil used to pass his days by taking the food that remained after the deities and the guests had eaten, and on auspicious lunar days that Lord of the Three Worlds, Indra himself, accompanied by the celestials, used to partake of the food offered at his sacrifices, and that on having adopted the life of a Muni, with a cheerful heart, entertained his guests with food on such days. And as that high-souled one distributed his food with alacrity, the remainder of the drona of corn increased as soon as a guest appeared, and by virtue of the pure spirit in which the sage gave away, that food of his increased much, that hundreds upon hundreds of learned Brahmanas were fed with it. And it came to pass that, having heard of the virtuous Mudigala, observant of vows, the Muni, Durvasa, having space alone for his covering, his accoutrements worn like that of a maniac, and his head bare of hair came there, uttering various insulting words. And having arrived there, that best of Munis saith unto the Brahmana, Know thou that I have come hither, seeking for food. Thereupon Mudigala saith unto the sage, Thou art welcome. And then offering to that maniac of an ascetic affected by hunger, rather to wash his feet and mouth, that unobservant of the vow of feeding guests, respectful placed before him excellent fare, affected by hunger. The frantic rich completely exhausted the food that had been offered unto him. Thereupon Mudigala punished him again with food. Then having eaten up all that food, he besmeared his body with the unclean earth and went away as he had come. In this manner, during the next season, he came again and ate up all the food supplied by that wise one, leading the Unkha mode of life. Thereupon, without partaking any food himself, the sage Mudigala again became engaged in collecting corn, following the Unkha mode. Hunger could not disturb his equanimity, nor could anger, nor guilt, nor a sense of degradation, nor agitation enter into the heart of that best of Brahmanas, leading the Unkha mode of life, along with his son and his wife. In this way, Durvasa, having made up his mind during successive seasons, presented himself for 6 several times before that best of sages, living according to the Unkha mode. Yet that Muni could not perceive an agitation in Mudigala's heart, and he found the poor heart of the poor souled ascetic always poor. Thereupon, well pleased, the sage addressed Mudigala, saying, There is not another guileless and charitable being like thee on earth. The pangs of hunger drive away to a distance the sense of righteousness and deprive people of all patience. The tongue, loving delicacies, attractive men towards them. Life is sustained by food. The mind, moreover, is fickle, and it is hard to keep it in subjection. The concentration of the mind and of the senses surely constitutes ascetic austerities. It must be hard to renounce in a poor spirit a thing yearned by pangs. Yet all this have been duly achieved by thee. In thy company we feel obliged and gratified. Self-restraint, fortitude, justice, control of the senses and of faculties, mercy, and virtue, all these are established in thee. Thou hast by the deeds conquered the different worlds, and have thereby obtained admission into paths of beatitude. Even the dwellers of heaven are proclaiming thy mighty deeds of charity. Thou shalt go to heaven even in thine own body. Whilst the Muni Durvasa was speaking thus, a celestial messenger appeared before Mudigala upon a car yoked with swans and cranes, hung with a net work of bells, scented with divine fragrance, painted picturesquely, and possessed of the power of going everywhere at will. And he addressed the Brahmana sage, saying, Do thou ascend into this chariot, earned by thy acts. Thou hast attained the fruit of thy asceticism. As the messenger of the gods was speaking thus, the sage told him, "A desire that thou mayest describe unto me the attributes of those that reside there, what are their austerities, and what their purposes, and what constitutes happiness in heaven, and what are the disadvantages thereof." It is declared by virtuous men of good lineage that friendship with pious people is contracted by on walking with them 7 passes. In the name of that friendship, I ask thee, do thou without hesitation tell me the truth, and that which is good for me now. Having heard thee, I shall, according to thy words, ascertain the course I ought to follow. The messenger of the gods saith, "Thou art of simply understanding, sighs, having secured that celestial bliss which bringeth great honor. Thou art still deliberating like an unwise person. That region which is known as heaven existeth there above us. Those regions tower high and are furnished with excellent paths, and are always hanged by celestial cars. Atheists and untruthful persons, those that have not practiced ascetic austerities, and those that have not performed great sacrifices, cannot repair thither. All men of virtuous souls, and those of subdued spirits, and those that have their faculties in subjection, and those that have controlled their senses, and those that are free from malice, and persons intent on the practice of charity, and heroes, and men bearing marks of victory, after having with subdued senses and faculties performed the most meritorious rites, attain those regions, capable of being obtained only by virtuous acts and inhabited by pious men. There are established separately myriads of beautiful, shining, and resplendent worlds, bestowing every object of desire, owned by those celestial beings, the gods, the Sadhyas, and the Vaisvas, the great sages, Yamas, and the Dharmas, and the Gandharvas, and the Apsaras, and there is that monarch of mountains, the golden Meru, extending over a space of 33,000 yojanas, and there are the sacred gardens of the celestials, with Nandana at their head, where sport the persons of meritorious acts. And neither hunger, nor thirst, nor lassitude, nor fear, nor anything that is disgusting or inauspicious is there, and all the odors of that place are delightful, and all the breezes delicious to the touch, and all the sounds there are captivating to the ear and the heart, and neither grief, nor decrepitude, nor labor, nor repentance is there, that would, obtained as the fruit of own acts, is of this nature. Persons repair thither by virtue of their meritorious deeds, and the persons of those that dwell there look resplendent, and these solely by virtue of their own acts, and not owing to the merits of fathers or mothers. And there is neither sweat, nor stench, nor urine there. And there doth not soils on garments, and their excellent garlands, redolent of divine fragrance, never fade, and they yoke such calves as these, and devoid of envy, and grief, and fatigue, and ignorance, and malice, men who have attained heaven dwell in those regions happily, and higher and higher over such regions there are others endowed with higher celestial virtues. Of these, the beautiful and resplendent regions of Brahma are the foremost. Thither he perishes that have been sanctified by meritorious acts, and there dwell certain beings named Hibihus. They are the gods of the gods themselves. Their regions are supremely blessed and are adored even by the deities. These shine by their own light and bestow every object of desire. They suffer no pangs that woman might cause, do not possess worldly wealth, and are free from guilt. The Hibihus do not subsist on oblations, nor yet on ambrosia, and they are endowed with such celestial forms that they cannot be perceived by the senses. And these eternal gods of the celestials do not desire happiness for happiness' sake, nor do they change at the revolution of a kalpa, where indeed is their decrepitude or dissolution. For them there is neither ecstasy, nor joy, nor happiness. They have neither happiness nor misery. Wherefore should they have anger or aversion then? Their supreme state is coveted even by the gods, and that crowning emancipation, hard to attain, can never be acquired by people subject to desire. The number of those deities is 33. To their regions he pair wise men, after having observed excellent vows, or bestowed gifts according to the ordinance. Thou hast easily acquired that success by thy charities, though thou, by effusions displayed by virtue of thy ascetic austerities, enjoy that condition obtained by thy meritorious acts. Such is the bliss of heaven, containing various worlds. Thus have I described unto thee the blessing of the celestial regions. Do thou now hear from me some of the disadvantages thereof, that in the celestial regions a person, while reaping the fruit of the acts he hath already performed, cannot be engaged in any others, and that he must enjoy the consequences of the former until they are completely exhausted, and further, that he is subject to fall after he hath entirely exhausted his merit, form, in my opinion, the disadvantages of heaven. The fall of a person whose mind hath been steeped in happiness must be pronounced as a fault, and the discontent and regret that must follow on stay at an inferior seat, after one hath enjoyed more auspicious and brighter regions, must be hard to bear, and the consciousness of those about to fall is stupefied and agitated by emotions, and as the garlands of those about to fall fade away, fear invadeth their hearts. These marked drawbacks extend even to the regions of Brahma. In the celestial regions, the virtues of men who have performed righteous acts are countless. And this is another of the attributes of the fallen. By reason of their merits, they take birth among men, and then they attain to high fortune and happiness. If one cannot acquire knowledge here, one cometh by an inferior birth. The fruits of acts done in this world are heaped in the next. This world have been declared to be one of acts, the others as one of fruit. Thus have I asked by thee, described I unto thee. Now, with thy favor, we shall easily set out with speed. Having heard this speech, Mudigala began to reflect in his mind. And having deliberated well, that best of mornings, he spake thus unto the celestial messenger. Above unto thee, do thou depart in peace. I have nothing to do with either happiness or heaven having such prominent defects. Persons who enjoy heaven suffer, after all, hug misery and extreme regret in this world. Therefore, I do not desire heaven. I shall seek for that unfailing region, preparing whither people have not to lament or to be pained or agitated. Thou hast described unto me these great defects belonging to the celestial regions. Do thou now describe unto me a region free from faults. Thereupon the celestial messenger said, above the abode of Brahma there is the supreme seat of Vishnu, pure and eternal and luminous, known by the name of Para Brahma. Thither cannot repair persons who are attached to the objects of the senses, nor can those subject to arrogance, covetousness, ignorance, anger, and envy go to that place. It is only those that are free from affection, and those free from pride, and those free from conflicting emotions, and those that have restrained their senses, and those given to the contemplation of yoga that can repair thither. Having heard these words, the Muni bade farewell to the celestial messenger, and that virtuous on leading the Unkha mode of life assumed perfect contentment, and then praise and dispraise became equal unto him, and a brick bat, stone, and gold assumed the same aspect in his eyes, and availing himself of the means of attaining Brahma, he became always engaged in meditation, and having obtained power by means of knowledge and acquired excellent understanding, he attained that supreme state of emancipation which is regarded as eternal. Therefore, thou also ought not to grieve, deprived thou hast truly been of a flourishing kingdom. Thou wilt regain it by thy ascetic austerities. Misery after happiness, and happiness after misery, revolve but turns round a man even like the point of a well circumference round the axle. After the 13th year have passed away, thou wilt get back the kingdom possessed before thee by thy father and grandfather. Therefore, let the fever of thy heart depart. Having said this, to Pandu's son, the worshipful Vyasa went back to his hermitage for the purpose of performing austerities. Janamejaya said, while the high-souled Pandavas were living in those woods, delighted with the pleasant conversation they held with the Munis, and engaged in distributing the food they obtained from the sun, with various kinds of venison to Brahmanas and others that came to them for Oedipus till the hour of Krishna meal. How did Duryodhana and the other wicked and sinful sons of Dhritarashtra, guided by the counsels of Dusasana, Karna, and Sakuni, deal with them? I ask thee this, do thou, worshipful Sir, enlighten me. When Duryodhana heard that the Pandavas were living as happily in the woods as in a seat, he longed with the artful Karna, Dusasana, and others to do them harm. And while those evil-minded persons were employed in concerting various wicked designs, the virtuous and celebrated ascetic Durvasa, following the bent of his own will, arrived at the seat of the Kurus with 10,000 disciples, and seeing the irascibly ascetic arrived, Duryodhana and his brothers welcomed him with great humility, self-abasement, and gentleness. And himself attending on the rich as a menial, the prince gave him a right worshipful reception, and the illustrious Muni stayed there for a few days, while King Duryodhana, watchful of his imprecations, attended on him diligently by day and night. And sometimes the Muni would say, "I'm hungry, give me some food quickly." And sometimes he would go out for a bath, and returning at a late hour, would say, "I shall not eat anything today as I have no appetite," and so saying would disappear from his sight. And sometimes, coming out on a sudden, he would say, "Feed us quickly," and at other times, bent on some mischief, he would awake at midnight, and having caused his meals to be prepared as before, would carp at them, and not partake of them at all, and trying the prince in this way for a while, when the Muni found that the king Duryodhana was neither angered nor annoyed, he became graciously inclined towards him, and then the intractable Durvasa said unto him, "I have power to grant thee boons. Thou mayest ask of me whatever lies nearest to thy heart. May good fortune be thine. Pleased as I am with thee, thou mayest obtain from me anything that is not opposed to religion and morals." Hearing these words of the great ascetic, Suryodhana felt himself to be inspired with new life. Indeed, it had been agreed upon between himself and Karna and Dusasana as to what the boon should be, that he would ask of the Muni if the latter were pleased with his reception. And the evil-minded king, bethinking himself of what had previously been decided, joyful solicited the following favor, saying, "The great king Yudhishthira is the eldest and the best of our race. That pious man is now living in the forest with his brothers. Do thou, therefore, once become the guest of that illustrious one, even as thou hast with thy disciples been mine for some time." If thou art minded to do me a favor, do thou go unto him at a time when that delicate and excellent lady, the celebrated Prince of Panchala, after having regaled with food the Brahmanas, her husbands, and herself, may lie down to rest. The rich replied, "Even shall I act for thy satisfaction." And having said this to Suryodhana, that great Brahmana, Durvasa, went away in the very same state in which he had come, and Suryodhana regarded himself to have attained all the objects of his desire, and holding Karna by the hand, he expressed great satisfaction. And Karna, joyful, addressed the king in the company of his brothers, saying, "By a piece of singular good luck, thou hast fared well and attained the objects of thy desire, and by good luck it is that thy enemies have been immersed in a sea of dangers that is difficult to cross. The sons of Pandu are now exposed to the fire of Durvasa wrath. Through their own fault, they have fallen into an abyss of darkness." Expressing their satisfaction in this strain, Duryodhana and others bent on evil machinations, returned merrily to their respective homes.